So welcome to this webinar. I'm really pleased to see you in the room today. If you have any questions as we're going along, please use the chat box. The session is being recorded. You can hear me, but I can't hear you, and we do take out the comments and chat before we post it online, so other people can see the recording later. So this is a session to talk about why you need more than one version of your CV, because we often say you need more than one copy, but we don't always say why. And this is the why. It's not how to write a CV, because that's covered in other sessions, and those recordings are available on Career Edge. And you might be wondering why I've chosen a picture of some footwear. Well, footwear is a good analogy for CVs. Sometimes you need beach shoes, but you wouldn't wear flip-flops to an interview in a smart office. And similarly, your bright Converse trainers wouldn't be suitable for a snowy day. You'd wear some boots. So, like footwear, you need to match your CV to your situation. And this session is just talking about why you need more than one version of your CV, because you're unlikely to pass the applicant tracking system test if you don't. Most applications for jobs are received by applicant tracking systems, which have been programmed to look for words on a CV that match the requirements of the job. And this is how it works. So let's say I'm recruiting for an advertising copywriter. I've put the link for this particular role underneath in the links in the transcript. The skills and abilities I need from the person have to match the list of skills on the person spec and the job description. So I've gone through the job description and I've circled all the things that I want my applicants to have, because they're the things that need to be done actually as part of the job. I'll focus on the ones that are essential, like accurate spelling and grammar, and tell the applicant tracking system, ATS, to discard any words that appear to be misspellings except for proper nouns. I'm looking for analytical skills, teamwork, working to deadlines, and so on. The ATS will look for words in the CV, deadlines, analytical, analysis, teamworking. And if your CV doesn't match because you've used a standard version, the ATS will pop it in the bin and I will never see it. There are some recommended next steps to make sure your CV gets through the applicant tracking system and to a human reader. The first two up here are on the career system, and the other one is through LinkedIn Learning. And the links to both of these are available in the transcript underneath the slides. In a nutshell, on your CV, you need to keep it simple. Don't use boxes or tables, infographics, headers or footers. You might not think it looks interesting, but the ATS will love it. Keep the interesting one with the infographics to hand over at the interview. So if you're still with me, and I hope you are, we would really like some information about how you found this session and your understanding of why you need to have more than one version of your CV. So you might want a marketing one, you might want a finance one, you might want an analytical chemistry one, you might want a research science one. Things like this are really important when you're creating your CV. So we want to know if you've met the aims of this session and how much progress you've made. If you could score yourself in the chat box and provide any additional comments, that would be really good. So today's learning outcomes are that we need more than one CV because it is vital to getting your CV through the applicant tracking system. So I'm could do some information. So what information would you like if the aim of the session was understanding about why you need more than one CV because it needs to be tailored to the job, that you could explain, and I can see if I can help you by explaining a little bit more about the subject. I'll just type a note in here. So I'm just waiting for some comments in the chat box here. That would be really useful. I can see the chat box is very busy and it's just coming through now. So when we put this on the recorded session, we'll take the chat information out. So don't worry about anybody reading what you've put and saying it for posterity. Just waiting on the chat box at the moment. Right, some of the information in the chat box has disappeared. I could see it being typed, but I can't see it there now. So what I'm going to do is move on to the next slide. So what would I suggest? What would I suggest you would need to change on a CV? So you need to look at what does the job and person spec ask of you. If it says you need skills like, we flick back to this one, the job description and the person spec, and this says you must show on the person spec that you have to have analytical skills to do this job. You have to have team working experience and evidence, working to deadlines, accuracy. You need to put those words on your CV and give an example of where you've developed those skills. So you might gather together several periods of work experience and say analytical skills. As part of my role within this, that, or the other, I've developed analytical skills to a high standard because. Or if you need to show teamwork, you might have a paragraph that says, in my chemistry degree, I worked as a project team member. This is what we did. And when I'm working at Greg's or KFC, I'm part of a bigger team and we work together to keep the stock fresh on the shelf and the customers satisfied. So you would look very carefully, Aldo, at what you need to say on your CV and focus very carefully about what it is that they're asking you to prove so that they know that you have those skills. If it's helpful for you, ask one of the careers advisors on the career system, and I'll just flick through to the end slide and show you how to get in contact with careers. So we have a CV checking system. You can come to a mini appointment and one of us will go through your CV and match it to the job spec that you're applying to, or you can send it in for emailed feedback. It's entirely up to you. But one of us would check through and make sure, just by ticking back and forth, that you've got the skills that you need. But it is really, really key. Having just the one CV will fail unless you get really lucky and it exactly matches the one that you're applying for. But every single job will have a different priority of skills, so you need to look very carefully. Usually the first skill they mention is the one that's the most important, so you need to give more weight to that one. So you do need to move information around and show more details about particular skills on one thing than another. So Careers is still offering 45-minute guidance appointments or drop-in appointments that are just 15 minutes, mock interviews, application checks, and we've got lots and lots of workshops and webinars. You can use a CV builder online, and you can have a quick check for a generic CV to make sure everything's put together right on the CV 360. You can search for job vacancies, book appointments, lots of e-learning and assessments. Before we finish then, does anybody have any additional questions? I can see that there's some people busily typing in the chat box. Our email address is shown on screen. It's careers@uclan.ac.uk, if that would help. So let me just read this next question. Yes, definitely. You do need to alter your CV each time you're applying for a different position. It does take time, but it is an investment in your application. It has a proven track record of success. So you probably won't need to change it very much if you're always applying for similar roles, but you may need to change it a little bit each time. If you're applying for very different roles, say retail assistant in a shop, you will want a very different set of skills on that to if you're applying for software designer as a graduate job. Brilliant. So that looks like the end of all the questions. If you do have any particular questions or you'd like to explore it in more detail, then do book in either to see one of the careers advisors or for the 15-minute mini appointments. And the details of how to book those are shown on the screen. So we've got the opening times, the email and the phone, and the link here to the careers portal. So thank you very much for joining me today. Good luck with your next application, and I hope we can give you a quick CV review whenever you need us. Thanks very much. Bye bye.